Alright, so my name's MTA3306, and I'm going to be doing a commentary walkthrough of my bus rodeo driver training map thing. First bus I have here is a flexible Metro 40-foot. This will be the first bus that I use to go through this driver training course and just explain how it works with different size buses. So, yeah, I'm just looking for an appropriate sign to put up. I think I'm looking for it's like a tour bus exposure or something. Yeah. So now it's off to the starting line. If you hear that, that's just me turning on the volume so I know what I'm doing and not just trying to figure it out from silence. This is where the parking lot is. You know, I figured Department of Public Works offices have like tons of lots for their employees to park. The rodeo course is set up in between the parking spaces. Here's the starting line. And it's like 4, 5, 6 different events. Oh, here we go. So the first event we have is the right-hand reverse. And the event that you're competing in, or that you're at, is denoted by the green 3x5 meter signs. So the idea is that you swing the bus around to get into a position to start reversing. You back up, put your hazards on, hit the horn a couple times. And this is just going off my own personal experience. You could do whatever really, but you can reorient yourself. I mean, like, as far if you're doing like an actual rodeo event, you can reorient yourself a maximum of 3 times. Obviously here I had a very bad setup, so I had to reorient myself a lot. I think I keep hitting that cone on the right side of the bus. You see it? Yeah, I just hit it again. You can hit the cones a maximum of no, you can reorient yourself 3 times. And if you can't get it on the 3rd time, then you lose half the amount of available points for that event. So say you can earn 50 points for this event. If you have to reorient yourself more than 3 times, you lose 25 points. Once you actually get oriented, back up into the space like you normally would when you're driving. And you have to do so without hitting any of the cones. Each time you hit a cone, or like your bus gets stuck, whatever, that's a loss of 5 points. And here's my stopping place because I got stuck and I had collisions on, so it made this a little bit harder. But you're supposed to back up as far as you can until just before you hit those 2 cones in the back. So now I'm gonna pull out of the space, put on my blinker, and the next event is the dual tire test. Now the idea behind this is that so you get to the speed bump, the front wheels go over it, but you're supposed to get the tires to be, and the bus to be as even as possible. Like, this here is a pretty good idea of what it's supposed to look like. If you're leaning, you lose, I don't know, 10 points. But if you get it perfectly balanced, then you get a perfect score. And now we come to the left-hand reverse. I'm still working out some kinks, because like the positioning of the cones is kind of weird because you can't really get into the left-hand reverse without hitting a cone, and then it just like sets people up to fail. It's not really fair. Maybe I'm just retarded and I can't drive properly. I'm having some people test it so they can figure that out. But yeah, it's the same idea as the right-hand reverse. You know, you swing the bus around, you start to back up into the space. You can reorient yourself a maximum of 3 times where you lose half your points. And then you try to back up into the space. And this can really be done with any American bus, because if the flexible can do it, then any bus can do it, because the flexible is like 10 feet wide. And I know that's just because I had to widen it in order to make it look proportioned properly. And as you can see, I did the left-hand reverse a lot better than I did the right-hand one. I didn't hit any cones, so I would get a perfect score for that. Well, for backing into space, I think I hit one of those cones backing in, so I'd lose a couple of points for that. I have to back up again because I'm right on top of that cone. I think I miscalculated or something. And so you could put on your blinkers, you pull out of the space. You swing around. You don't go into where the yellow marking is. Check out that nice flexible lean. But you swing around to this event called a passenger stop, where you just enact picking up passengers as a normal bus driver, and I just hit that stop sign, so I lose, or that bus stop sign, so I'd lose points for that. But I'm not really sure what this event is going to be about, but the idea is that you just stop, and you get graded based on where you stop and how you stop. And then we have the next event, which is diminishing clearance. And for those who don't know what diminishing clearance is, it's so basically you get to a line, which is denoted by that cone that I just passed, and you have to get up to 20 miles an hour, but this bus is kind of slow, so I think I got up to 20 kilometers an hour. And you have to try to get past all of the cones without hitting them, and then stopping just before this cone out in front. At the very latest, the stop sign. Like I said, if the flexible can get through this, I hit a couple of cones though, so the flexible may not be the best bus to do this with. But this can be done with pretty much any American bus, you know, the DVC buses, the RTS, the Gillig, etc., etc. And so now that I'm finished with the course, I'm going to back up so I don't hit that cone or the stop sign, because then the bus will start freaking out. And then following the yellow lines, or staying inside the yellow lines, I'll go back to the course starting area, which is where a driver or contestant will get off the bus, you know, let a new contestant on, or switch buses. And I think... Okay, so my total time for this was... It was 6 minutes. So, yeah, another thing about these rodeos is that you have a certain amount of time to get through the course. That's what I've observed anyway. If I'm wrong, someone can correct me in the comments, especially if you've actually done one of these things before. And, yeah. Alright, so the next bus we have is the New Flyer D35HF. This is for the 35-foot bus category. Oh, that description is wrong. It's an L10 ZF. I think I meant to use the Series 50 Allison, but I thought that was kind of boring. I think all the buses no, not all of them, but before I made this video, all the test buses I had used were all Series 50 buses, and that was kind of, like I said, boring. So I used this L10 bus, and now I'm just getting up the air pressure so I can actually move the bus around. I guess in this section, I'll just be explaining some more about the events. So as I said before, you have a certain amount of time to complete the other course. I'm still trying to figure out what's a good time, because I did the 40-foot course in about 6 minutes. I think I did this one about 7 minutes. And the 30-foot one was like 7.5. So I think I'll give people like, let's say anywhere from 7 to 8 minutes. Because 6 minutes is a fast time. Even for a rodeo, even for a course of this size. The smaller the bus gets, the easier this will be. So you might see that here. Like with I did this with a 30-foot by 96-inch bus, so that was really easy because like you have a lot of extra space, or you have more space in between like cones for you, especially when you're doing like the reversing events. Yeah, just reversing. Each cone you hit, that's a 5-point deduction, but I'm 99% sure I mentioned that before. The bus size does not affect how far you have to back up. You still have to back all the way up to the cones until you think you're good. And once you think you're done, just hit the parking brake. Open the doors. Just get to press F4 and go to the outside view and just see how far you run away. In this case, I did pretty good. Could have been worse, obviously. Could have just rammed the bus into the cones there. And turns be a lot easier too, because you have less space to worry about. Some buses will be easier than others just because of wheelbases and stuff. For those who don't know, a wheelbase is the distance between the front wheel and the back wheel. So a bus with a longer wheelbase will be harder to turn, especially in this enclosed environment. And buses with shorter wheelbases will be a lot easier to maneuver. For that dual tire test thing, I did not get a good score because my bus was leaning, but yeah, for the dual tire test, you just go up onto the speed bump with the rear tires, and you go to the outside view, and you look at how your bus is positioned, and then you keep going. Because you have 7 or 8 minutes to complete the course. You can't spend your time gawking at your positioning. Don't try to back up and fix it. For the reversing events, any approach, you can give yourself any approach you'd like, but just don't do a 90-degree angle. You should be able to find an approach within the confine of the cones, and if not, then you'll just think I could count as a disqualification. Going outside the cones and doing a 90-degree angle and then reversing, because that's not how it would be in real life. You can't position the bus however you like, regardless of the constraints or the environment that you're in. That's not how it works. I think I was in a bad spot here. I got caught in a cone, so that'd be a 5-point deduction. So now I have to try to wiggle my way into the space without scraping more cones, but I think I did, judging from the resistance I'm getting, or that I'm looking at here. The flexible is definitely the hardest though, because that thing is so wide. With pretty much every other bus, I've measured it out. And I'm pretty sure the DBC bus is measured too. Oh, I did put it. So, I was pushing it. Right on those back corners. But yeah, as I was saying, pretty much any bus can work. 30 as far as 30s, 35s, and 40s. No 45s or 60s. 60s though, because that would require a whole nother course. And I've never seen a 45 or 60 foot bus category in a bus rodeo before. It's just ridiculous. Passenger stop. I already talked about that. And that's the left-hand reverse right there. I tried to make this as compact as possible, so it wouldn't seem like I was being wasteful with the space I created. And we're at diminishing clearance again. This is a 102-inch bus, so there is some difficulty, but you could probably get through here with scraping one cone. And I scraped 5, I think. It was either 5 or 6. The brakes in this bus are really good, but I think I went through this course already with the 30-foot gillig you saw over there, and rammed the shit out of it, so that's why it's all the way up there. And for something like that, you'd lose quite a bit of points, because you're supposed to stop before the cone, not at the cone or after, because that's a safety hazard. And that might be my fault for not tuning the brakes properly on that bus, but yeah, when you go through this course, choose something with that you're comfortable with and that has good what's the word? Good reflexes, I guess. Yeah, we'll call it reflexes. Good, pick something with good reflexes. And the last category is the a 30-foot. So for this, because I didn't record the video with a 30-foot gillig, I used a 30-foot RTS. This one was kind of difficult because the ZF buses are kind of slow. At least that's my case. Might be different for other people. And there's another test bus up there that I use. It's an XD35. Putting up the sign. I think I had to rev up the engine a little bit because, as you can see from the blinking needle light, the air pressure is low. Like really low. If it's really low, then you can't move the bus. I think I revved the engine enough. Because there we go. Just gotta get the air pressure up a little bit more so that it's not sluggish. Because like for things like diminishing clearance, you need to be able to get a lot of speed very quickly. So yeah, here we go for the last event. This was probably the easiest, because like I said, smaller wheelbases and smaller sizes. The smaller the wheelbase and the smaller the size, the easier of a time you're going to have trying to get through this course. And 30-foot categories aren't very common, at least not that I know of. I don't think the National Rodeo has a 30-foot bus category. They might have a cutaway one, but since there's no cutaways in OMSI and I'm not making one, we have a 30-foot bus category. At this point, I'm just waiting for the clock to strike a new minute. As you can see at the red line, it's at 54 seconds. When it reaches 0 seconds, then I'll go. And that just helps me figure out how much time I've spent competing on the course. So here we go. Here comes the right-hand reverse. Shouldn't have to swing out too far for this one because I can keep saying it's short, so it'll be easier to move around. Probably the most important thing about 30-foot buses is it'll be easier to correct yourself. Like if you're in a 40-foot or a 45-foot bus, you obviously need more time to like move the bus around. With a 30-foot bus, you need less time. So this is attempt 2, trying to reorient myself. I think for 30-foot buses, the amount of attempts you can use to reorient yourself will be lower. I think I got caught in a cone here. So this is attempt number 3. And here we go again. And I'm at 1 minute and 15 seconds. I think I'm caught some more cones here because I had an awkward approach. And I wasn't checking both sides. I usually pay attention to the left. Well, when I was testing this, I was paying attention to the left side of the cones because, like, it's really hard to see out of the right mirrors on some buses sometimes. There's also a little blind spot right there where the front wheel is. And at this point, I was just like, yes. But if you're competing in a rodeo, then I would expect, or the judge should expect, that you back up all the way to as far as you can go before you hit those cones. So out we go. We come to the Front tires might go up, no biggie. Rear tires matter the most. For this, I would not have scored perfectly because my bus is tilted. And here comes the right-hand reverse. Excuse me. Right-hand reverse. I feel like I've said they're all that needs to be said about this. Oh, I hit a cone. That's another thing you should keep an eye out for when you're doing these reverses is the positioning of the cones along the outside. Because if you're not careful and you think you have a good approach, then you're probably gonna hit a cone on the outside, and that's a deduction. I think I scraped a couple of cones getting in, but otherwise I'm good. Can't stop here. I can go back a little bit further, about maybe another 5 feet. And yeah, I could have gone back a little further, but that's a decent score right there. So out we go. Gotta stop to make sure that I'm not about to run into anyone. Because, like, usually on real rodeo courses, there's more than just you on the course, so you should be mindful of other contestants. Swing around to the passenger stop. That was close. I probably would score a little bit lower just because of coming in kind of fast. It's kind of dangerous, you know. You could injure someone if you're not paying attention. But whatever. Now we come to the last event, diminishing clearance, and I already explained this before, so yeah, here we go. I think I hit 3 cones there, and it slowed me down quite a bit. Took 1 cone with me. Yeah, I hit those last 2 cones at the end there. You can see him kind of floating a little bit. And like I said before, each cone you hit is a 5-point deduction. Obviously, I hit that cone pretty hard because it's like rolling. So I think I scraped another cone there, or that cone right there in front. And now I'll proceed back to the starting line. Yeah, that's basically it. All the different events, different bus sizes. You know, ideally you want to use 102-inch buses, but I think that's the only thing that you can use because I really don't release 96-inch buses. But yeah, if you have any other questions, just